And we're back. And we look just like we did last time. We've moved some things around. Did you notice what's different?
That's right. So we talked a lot about a lot of the things around marriage, both in a, if you will, a biblical sense, an academic sense, a fundamental sense of what we can do to make the marriage better. But as we look at those things, Father John, you have on many occasions talked about the 4 goods of marriage, which I think is a great summary for the guys to really kind of package it together to say, fundamentally, what can I be working on and really focus on in the marriage? Could you run through those again with us?
Yes. Much like the sacramentality of marriage, these are really basic things which most people never heard. Right? So
or forgot.
Or most people or in your case, you forgot, Joe. Thank you. Yes. Ooh, he's under the bus.
Hey, it's always been about me. You guys are beating me up off camera. So
I always, it's funny. This is, I have so many talks. I can cure insomnia, right? I'm sure when I die, God's just going to hit play. And you have to listen to you. But of all the talks I've given in 23 years, that one talk is the talk that's asked for the most. The 4 goods of marriage.
And I like it because I think fundamentally we can relate to it and understand it and apply it.
So I always preface it by saying, so the story I use to introduce it is I was a young priest walking in to go get something to eat at a grocery store, checking out, and there was a woman behind the counter and a guy. And the guy says, here you go, sir. And then he saw my collar was like this right now. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, Father, I didn't see your collar. And he hands me my food, and the woman was sitting there next to him, and she says, you're a priest? And I said, yeah. And she goes, it's never going to last. Wow. And I went, what? And she goes, it's never going to last. I grabbed my food, I got in the car, I started my car. I can remember this like it was yesterday. Put it in reverse, and I hear the Lord go, you're going back. I'm like, oh, no. So I walk back inside, I see the young guy. I go, hey, is that woman around? She goes, yeah, she's over there. So I start walking towards the woman, and the woman starts going like this. So I walk up to her. I said, I'm sorry, I had to come back. And I said, are you Catholic? She goes, no. I said, are you Christian? Yeah. Are you married? No. Would you like to be? Yes. I said, can I just ask, what would it be like if you're in your receiving line on the day of your wedding? Happiest day of your life. And all these people are coming through, and somebody comes through and goes, it's never going to last. And she went, I am so sorry. And I always start with that because I said, so she didn't think I knew what I was doing, what I was getting in for. In my experience, especially now, this is 20 years later, is most couples don't know what they're getting in for. And the 4 goods are one of the easiest ways I know to explain, like, what did you promise each other? So the 4 goods are, these are things which you promised each other in the vows. And it's helpful just to know, like, what we commit to. So there's 2 F's and 2 P's. Remember what they are, Joe?
No, I don't, Father.
Anybody know what they are? You know them all.
You should know.
I'll help prime the pump, guys. Step up. Forgiveness. Forgiveness.
No.
Yes.
No. Pump closed.
Football.
And we're not editing that. Football. That's one of the 4 goods. Right?
Very good.
Yeah.
I never went to the...
Try to guess.
Oh.
So there's 4 goods. So these are 4 things that you promise each other in the vows, which are not just a moment in the vows. Tom said earlier, like, love the wedding, invite me to the marriage.
It's a 2 S
and 2
2
P's.
P's.
Family? Or,
No. Meaning what? Say what you mean by that.
You know, that the marriage contributes to bringing a family into being?
Yeah, fruitfulness.
Fruitfulness, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's 1 F.
Patience?
No, but we need it, don't we? Yes, we do.
I didn't take the class.
Faith.
Nope. Well, close. It's 2 more syllables.
Faithfulness.
Yes.
Well, come on, you had to give that to me.
Yeah, no, I can't. Faith is one thing. Faith is a theological virtue. Faithfulness, right? Meaning exclusivity, right? What are the 2 P's? We said this earlier. We said marriage is a total of life. When we were talking about marriage, when they were one flesh, one flesh didn't just mean a conjugal union, it meant more than that. We said marriage is a total ship of life. Remember what that word?
Partnership.
Partnership. Yeah, that's one. That's the P. And what's the last one? The last one's the most. Last one's the most important one. People think faithfulness is the most important one. It's actually not. So in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, in good times and in bad. Meaning, no matter what happens, I'm not going to
walk away.
Right. So the P there is permanence.
Permanent. Okay, I was going to say commitment. Okay.
Except that doesn't begin with a P.
I know, but same concept.
Yeah. So the reason why it's the most. So these are the four things. Oh, I'm very rich. I'm an English major, for crying out loud. So these are the four things that you promise each other in the vows. And these are the goods of marriage. So these are the things that we want to be goods, meaning what? That we're communicating to the other person, that we want the other person to be communicating to us. So of the four, the most important one is permanence. Right. Because it has to be based on an essential commitment that no matter what happens, we're not going anywhere. I know you were talking before we started doing this series about wanting to get to covenant. That's covenant, right? So Keller does this great stuff. You guys got the book on the table, but Timothy Keller, who's used to be the pastor of Redeemer Presbyterian in New York, he has some great discussions about the contradictions or the distinctions between covenant and contract. So a contract is, I will be for you what I should be so long as you are for me what you should be. So the example is, I go to that supermarket down there because I can get that food at that price. But the moment I find a store that's got the same food at a cheaper price, I'm going to that store, right? Because that's a contractual relationship. We do that in business all the time. Unfortunately, that's how we live married life sometimes. A covenant is, I will be for you what I should be, even when you are not. So that's what God entered into with us. God's in a covenant with us, not a contract. And marriage is a covenant, not a contract. So permanence flows from the covenant dimension of marriage.
Right. And permanence, the beauty of permanence, in my mind, having been married a while now, is it frees you to be honest with who you are with your spouse. Because you're confident that she's not going to walk away, you're not going to walk away, and therefore you don't try to fake the behavior of who you are or what you think. Hopefully you're being completely honest with your spouse, and in return she's being completely honest with you. In other words, you are freeing yourselves to be absolutely who you are, which is what we are with God, ideally.
Right.
Because God can see through any facades that we may put forth.
Yeah, I agree.
And so and then permanence leads to the other things, right? Like, you've recently lost your mother, and a few years before that, your father. All of us are going to die.
Right.
And I think most of us count on either caring for our spouse in those final days or having our spouse care for us in those final days. And we don't even know where we'll be or what we'll be like.
Right.
But with permanence, you expect that to happen. There's that mutual love right up to the last breath that you take.
Yeah, and I think, too, one of the things you said in talking about that made me think, the beauty of marriage is supposed to be, like Keller talks about this and the reason why cohabitating is so dangerous. Mm. In cohabitating, you're always auditioning. Right. I'm always putting forth the ideal me. And in marriage, the audition's over. Like, this is the real me. And so the gift of marriage is supposed to be, here's somebody who knows me. We were talking about the sacrament, right? So here's a visible sign. So in this case, the other person's the visible sign to me of God. This person knows me not as I appear to be, as I really am, with all my brokenness and all my flaws, and they still love me. And when that's experienced in marriage, that is profound. That's why friendship is often referred to as the eighth sacrament, because if a friend knows me for who I am, they still love me. We were talking off camera earlier about intimacy and different things. So there's threats to these things, or keys to these things working, these four goods. The key to faithfulness working is intimacy. So people don't just wake up one day and go, at least most people don't.
You mean physical intimacy or something beyond?
Yeah.
No, I mean intimacy. What's it mean to be intimate?
To open yourself up.
Complete sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Right. So a big mistake is most men equate sex with intimacy. Most women equate speaking with intimacy because that prepares for physical intimacy. Most guys find speaking annoying. Why are we talking? I can say that. I don't really care. Right? I'm leaving anyway. Who gives a flip? So,
and I think I'd throw listening in there too, so that both
that's
parts
part of the intimacy.
Yeah.
So
I'm hearing.
So, but most people don't just wake up and go, "I think I'm going to have an affair today." It happens because it usually happens because the relationship has grown distant. So, concrete example: when we're young and in love, like you talk about anything all day long. Why? Because I just want to know you more. And then, those first few months or first few years of marriage, you come home from work, both of you, or whichever one's working, and, how's your day? Oh, it's awesome. And you start talking about lots of different things. And you just talk all night long and you fall asleep, you go to bed. And then someday you wake home and you go, how's your day? It was all right. What's yours? It was good. Click. And now you're in trouble. So, this is what happens, right? So whoever it is, might be the man, might be the woman. That's the relationship. That's where we are. And I find myself in a situation, maybe I'm at work, and I get into a conversation with somebody, and that other person now is listening to me the way my spouse used to listen to me. And what does that do? That builds a connection. Because I'm able to be vulnerable to you right now. And if I'm able to be vulnerable to you now emotionally, it doesn't end there. Oftentimes I have to be careful of that. I got to be cautious of the fact that we've just shared some pretty intimate things about our lives, and we're wired in such a way that now I want to share more with you. And unfaithfulness can happen as a result of that. So what's the point of saying that? The point of saying that is I have to continually be working on being intimate. And we're the worst. I mean, guys are bad at this, right? We're great at the chase. We're not so good once we've got the catch. And we just kind of get used to things. And I've got to... we were talking about honoring earlier. I was thinking of a friend of mine who his first wife died very unexpectedly, and when she died, he just recognized, wow, I just failed to tell you how much I really loved you in the way that I wish I had. He was a good man, but he just took her for granted so often. He ended up getting married again. And because of his previous experience, he just made a commitment to himself. I am never going to let a day go by without finding a way to go out of my way to honor you. Flowers one day, chocolates, notes in the sock drawer, something in the microwave. I mean, just little things to just let you know. He didn't smother her. I just want you to know, after God, you're everything to me. And man, she was glued to him. Not, again, in a smothering way. She just felt so safe. So there's things that we can do to guard these things,
Well, in permanence, as you touched on there, she felt safe. That security, and that's the one thing I often find myself talking with young people about. That security doesn't just stop with that couple, right? Because it's a good of marriage. It impacts everything. Your own children, you can see where your own child will take a sense of who they are from the secure knowledge of who, not just who mom is and who dad is, but who they are together. And that's my parents. Those are my parents. Your child takes a natural security from that. And I think we don't always think that way. We don't think that long term or how it's going to work in their psyche over the course of their lifetime. But as you get older and you see your children grow and become their own adults, you begin to realize what that impact really was.
My mom and dad, right here in this picture that nobody can see except the guys here, I am painfully aware at this stage of my life, because this is what I do, I talk to couples most, that the impact of their life on me is the single greatest impact in my life. And I am who I am because of them. And I got great priest friends who did not grow up in a home like I did. And they are very different people fundamentally in the sense of being able to trust and understanding certain things. I mean, I got all sorts of blind spots, but because of their witness and their example, I grew up with a level of security that they never grew up with. You are the first and most important pastors of your children. There's not a second person that's close. And what you're doing right now, even if your kids are grown and out of the house, doesn't matter. You're still the first and most important pastors. It's not just when they're little 4-year-olds. What you do will shape their lives like nobody else.
So if you're a teenage girl listening to this right now, remember that.
Yeah. And even if they don't tell you that, I mean, just know that. It's just the reality. God is Father. And the person who most shapes their image of God is you. Right? Which is an awesome responsibility. Great gift. Great task, too, you know? So yeah, I mean, the security is huge, and another reason to keep praying together so that your children can feel calm. When my mom was dying, maybe we can go with this, to clarify that point. When my mom was dying, a guy came over to visit who grew up with me in grade school. I hadn't seen this guy since 8th grade, so 40 years ago. And I didn't even recognize him. So his mom was there, came to visit. He came, and he stayed for like 2 hours, and he just couldn't stop talking about our home when we were kids. And he said, I loved coming to your house. It was so safe. It was the only place I had that was like that. Your dad and your mom were such a haven for me. I didn't know what was going on in his family. But his saying that, I was like, inside I'm thinking, really? Kids crave security.
Right.
And you have this privileged opportunity of being able to create a home which provides that for them, and then sending them out into the world where then they can replicate it and share it with those, especially with the increasingly number of people who don't have that and didn't have that. And so hopefully that's one of the ways that the culture gets won back, is because you guys are doing all that you can to try to show your children what love looks like.
There was a guy at our table one time, he shared a story about how he always makes a big deal out of it when his wife gets ready, they're going to go out, she's getting dressed, and he makes sure how he tells her how beautiful she is and how lovely she is. And his daughter came home one day and said she had broken up with this guy she was dating at school. And he said, well, why? Because he doesn't treat me the way you treat me. It's the
Wow.
right?
It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Right? And may God make it so. There's so much more we could have talked about, right? But this is good, and we appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing. So, I mean, just let me say that on behalf of like Father Dave, Father Prentice, Father Pierre, myself. The witness of men living married life is so comforting and confirming for us in our own vocations. We pray ours is too for you guys, but let me just say that to you. I mean, I am personally really grateful for the witness of married men. I know, because I know how men work. So I'm exhausted in what I'm doing, and to see you guys, knowing that you feel the same thing, then pour into your families and your wives the way you do, is beyond inspiring to us to just hopefully want to continue to try to do that better personally. So we see that, we watch that. It keeps us motivated to be, hopefully serving as opposed to taking. So thank you for the example that you guys are for us.
All right. Thank Father.
Yep. God bless, guys.